go ahead and call this meeting to order. The purpose of this meeting is for the Committee of the Whole to discuss the proposed fiscal year 2021 budgets and general operations and activities of the following departments. We will hear from Information Technology this afternoon, and then we will hear from the County Executive's Office. Please call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Clancy.
Here.
Councilmember Gray.
Present.
Councilmember Days.
Here.
Councilmember Dunaway.
Present.
Councilmember Fitch.
Here.
Councilmember Tracus. Councilmember Harder. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The committee takes official notice of and admits into evidence all St. Louis County ordinances and resolutions. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Chuck Henderson, who will take us through the IT budget request for 2021. Chuck?
Thank you, Councilwoman Clancy. So I'd like to introduce, I have with me Erica Savage. She is my IT Finance Manager.
And welcome, Erica. Good to meet you.
I emailed a copy of this, I do believe, on Sunday to everybody on the council. I do not know if you got an opportunity to read it. And so I just wanted to kind of touch through on the different slides. And please, if you have questions or comments, please feel free to stop and interrupt me at any time so that we can talk through things.
Oops.
Okay, so I wanted to start off first with understanding of the mission and vision of the IT department. This has been in place since I took over the department in August of 2019. Effectively, basically, IT is moved out to a role where we are assisting other departments. It is our job to assist departments and agencies in what they do. Instead of IT being, at the forefront of things, it's our job to help people do what they do better. So that is our mission and vision in a nutshell. We created a strategic plan, which is available on the website. So if you go to St. Louis County, Missouri, mo.gov, and Department's Information Technology, our IT strategy and IT strategic plan is available to the general public, so anybody can go up and view what our thoughts and plans are. Our strategic plan is basically centered around the aspects that you see here, from tech debt, improving resilience, process and workflows, non-IT projects, which are projects specifically for other departments, introducing new capabilities, improving the ability to communicate internally and externally, making our systems easier to use, and implementing tools to improve customer service. So with that in mind, when we started drafting the 2021 budget, these are the ideas that we had in our head. We knew 2021 was going to be a lean year for everybody, not just IT, but everybody in county, with the impact of COVID and what it did to the tax base and the revenue coming in. So even though we did not know how much of an impact there was going to be, we started on really kind of 4 different items in order to try to improve what we could do with the money we had available. We eliminated and avoided anything that we had identified as a high-cost, low-value application or process in favor of lower-cost, higher-value applications. I have some examples of that a little later in the presentation. We also started reorganizing our workforce, insourcing, so that we're able to get more people at a lower cost, and which also had a side effect of actually improving our ability to do customer service, which was our last bucket, and a focus on solutions that help departments deliver the improvements in line with the county executive's guidelines. So just to give you some examples for elimination and avoidance, as of February, we will no longer be utilizing ServiceNow, which allows us to redirect $100,000 a year into other initiatives. Our initial website cost when we were looking at closed source solutions was $711,000 for year one. And let me move my picture here. And I didn't put that number in there, but it ended up being only about $120,000 for year one with the solutions that we selected. And we actually reduced the cost year over year by $5,000 compared to what the old stlewisco.com website cost us. And one of those that we're implementing at the end of this year and beginning of next year is called Avaya Spaces. Basically, for the same cost that it costs us to supply the telephone on your desk and the ability to make telephone calls, we get that service. We get the ability to put a soft phone, which a soft phone is basically an application that acts like a telephone, on your cell phone, a device like an iPad or your PC. So you can literally make phone calls and receive phone calls from your 615 number at your desk, wherever you are, on your cell phone, on an iPad, on your PC. And so that, you literally, it's like taking your desk phone wherever you go. And there's also a virtual meeting solution that comes with this service, allowing us to replace WebEx Teams. And we'll have 3 times the number of hosts that we do now. And all of this for the same cost that we're today paying for just voice. So that's what, those are some of the items we're looking at as we went through and try to eliminate costs out of our environment that and bring in more lower cost solutions that we're able to get greater value for. So next up, we really focused on our workforce reorganization. Once again, really focusing on our fundamentals. We only really want the IT department to do IT things. I don't want to have IT doing other people's jobs. So that's the primary reason why we moved 311 out of IT last year, because it's not an IT function. So that's one of the things that we slim down and focus on our core fundamentals. And then we start insourcing. So our in-house web development team is one of the primary reasons why we were able to move from $700,000 in year one on a website to $120,000. Our in-house application development team is why we could avoid spending $100,000 every year starting next year to ServiceNow and gain more functionality for a cost that we're already paying for salaries. Insourcing desktop infrastructure and networking provide better service, higher quality people, and lower cost. So we're actually able to employ more desktop technicians than we were able to get through contract. So for 2021, our staffing plan and our salaries are where we need to be. We're good for 2021. I do not see any need to change or request a change for that. 2022 is going to be a bit of a different story. Through 2020, a lot of departments and agencies have become very dependent on technology. And through 2021, that is simply going to accelerate. If you get the opportunity to look at our IT strategic plan, you will see that 2021 is a crazy collection of IT projects that are going to be going in all across the county. So 2022 and beyond, I do not believe that our current staffing levels are going to be sufficient. But that's a topic more to address next year, because 2021, I think, will be just fine the way we are. So if you look at our workforce reorganization, right there you can see that we've actually been dropping most years as we've been shedding jobs that are not IT core functions. And then in 2021, you can see the result as we've been insourcing. So even in 2020, there was more people in IT than 46, but they were contractors. They were not full-time employees. And so so when it came to the workforce listing, they don't appear. So I think it was like 52, if I remember correctly. And 49, as you see, is the result of us bringing some of those jobs back into county and away from the consulting agencies. So, and we started focusing on solutions for departments on how to help them do their jobs better. We have a lot of communication tools. Several are up already, and some are in the process of being stood up. You all are familiar with the new website and the ability to search everything, and the ability to translate into, I think it's 147 languages, if I remember correctly. If not, the number is pretty close to there. We have a chat bot, which will be standing up to allow direct interaction between our citizens and the AI, which can search everything on our website and find information to bring back to people. We're implementing a new text alert system so that if people want to subscribe to text alerts on content, they can do so and be able to get an alert on their cell phone. We're also doing web subscription services, which will be stood up soon, so that, for example, the Department of Health is looking to use that for educational materials, so that when a new educational material comes out, perchance on the flu, anybody that subscribes to that web page will get an alert in their email letting them know that there's new educational materials. And you're all familiar with iCompass, which is council automation, and we're going to expand that to the other boards in the county. So that way, any citizen can go to our website and find any information on the boards from their meetings, their votes, the meeting minutes, etc. We're introducing automation. The primary one is a forms engine with workflow. So it allows us to take anything from a marriage license to an action memo to the applications for plumbing, licensing and stuff like that, and automate all of that so that the person can just type the information into the web page, have it routed around automatically and get approved or denied, and then return back to the person. So people don't have to show up in the Clayton office, they don't have to fill out a bunch of paper forms, and then wonder exactly where their where their application sits at. We're also introducing robotic process automation. This allows things like there are 2 different pharmacy systems in health. There's Allscripts, which is used by the majority of DPH, and there's Sapphire, which is used only in the jail. The systems do not talk to each other. So it is a manual process to understand whether or not a person or inmate is being treated in both the Allscripts system with prescriptions and in the Sapphire system. Robotic process automation will actually allow us to transfer data from one system to another so that they'll always be able to just look on one system and know whether or not the person is being treated. There is the right customer service system, which will be standing up next year. This is actually a topic that takes quite a while, so I'm just going to give you the 50,000-foot view. The whole idea is that anytime somebody contacts a county person for anything, whether they want to know when Winter Wonderland opens, how to get to the Clayton office, how to file their taxes, that we actually capture that request, and no matter where it comes in at, it becomes a record in a database. And if that call comes into the wrong place, maybe somebody calls revenue asking, how to pay for renting a pavilion at a park. Instead of it being something where they give somebody the park's phone number or tell them they called the wrong spot, and then hoping that they can get somebody on the phone or that somebody calls the right person, then hoping that somebody actually picks up the phone, it turns it into something that's trackable. And so revenue can actually transfer that record to parks, and somebody in parks will pick it up and call the person back or email them back. So it helps us make sure that our constituent communications don't get lost and we don't just drop people or they forget that they called and asked for something. And it allows us to track all that and make sure that we give better customer service to our citizens when they call us. So business continuity, you all have actually experienced a lot of this already, so I won't go through a lot of it, but you all know about the laptops, you know about VPN, We are going to be implementing easier remote access, so it's going to be simpler for you to get in than what it is today. And one of the other things we're going to do is near the end of next year, be able to recover our data center to the cloud, so that in the event of like New Madrid or other very large disaster, we'll be able to bring up our systems anyway and be able to continue operation. As well as their department-specific things. We're looking at Acela enhancements to improve licensing and permitting to make it easier for people to do business with us and able to be socially distanced from us with those. There's a new licensing system going at DPH for Acela, which replaces Decade. And boards and commissions, which allows people to be able to apply for boards and be able to see all their pertinent data, such as their ethnicity, their marriage status, all that, and be able to actually determine almost like in the spreadsheet who's applying for the board and what qualifications they have, and do they have the suitable mix of diversity that we want. So our focus is to improve the service quality. We're going to have a customized ticket tracking tool. We're going to be able to improve our asset tracking. So today there's not really a good solution to understand who has what software license or where a laptop is at other than a spreadsheet, which is not ideally where we want. We are doing technology training. I don't know if you've seen some of the emails that we've sent out from IT News announcing that site where you can go out and learn about how to use some of the technology that we're providing. We're going to create a training and adoption team to help all of our employees better utilize the technology that we put in place and are paying for. And we're going to be closing some security holes by improving how accounts are managed. Those accounts is like what you log into on your computer, are managed in county to help make sure that we do not have accounts out there that hackers can get into. Right. So that kind of gives you the idea of where we're going and why we're going there and why we're making the selections that we've been making. And so let's take a look at some of our expenditures by category. There are a couple here that we wanted to call out and explain because they are fairly decent sized numbers. So the supplies category is really a net result, computer software, computer parts, peripherals. Some of that is an increase because instead of going back and trying to ask for money in 2021 to buy some of the software that was necessary for the website, we instead made changes in our budget where we eliminated costs and moved costs around so that we could put all of the software we needed for the website into our existing operational budget and not have to make any type of supplemental requests to do all the things that we're doing on the web. A side effect of that was it increased that category, even though other categories decreased. And also the other expenses category is sharply higher. That is because we're going to be moving from Northwest Crossing, the remainder of IT, back down into Clayton. Public Works is working on a project to rebuild the section of the concourse that Police 911 used to be in, and which is currently uninhabitable. So there's going to be moving costs, there's going to be furniture costs after all that construction is completed. And so we're estimating at what we think the combined furniture for all of IT and the moving costs will cost. So that number is an estimate based upon that. It's valuable to have all of IT in one place. One thing is space is needed in Northwest by Human Services, and the area that we were going to occupy in Northwest instead, which, as you just heard from the courts, is space that they want. So we all can't be in the same spot at the same time, so the only way to make that work was to move IT somewhere else, and Clayton is the best place. 40% of my clients exist in the 4 buildings around Clayton. The number is actually higher than that if you go down a couple blocks and consider economic development. There's improved collaboration between groups, and we can get them in proximity so that when we do team meetings and bullpens, we can have people all in one spot rather than try to do everything via WebEx. And the space that we're redesigning is really kind of designed also to showcase the new way of working, where people are not in the office all the time, and having the opportunity to really build that showcase to be able to show the other county departments and agencies how this works is a value as well. Right. So we have several reductions, and these are by object. We took a 40% reduction in personal services, primarily by insourcing positions and creating full-time employees. So in budget adjustments and correction and other personal services. There was the electronics communication maintenance was actually just moved into telephone in 2021. So it's not really like a correction or a change. It's just the money was moved from one object in the budget to another object in the budget. It still pays for the same thing. We'll hit some of the other highlights through here. So advertising and public notices, that's eliminated because that is not an IT function. IT does not need to be advertising anything. That is up for the departments who are actually providing direct services to our residents. 40% in vehicle fuel charges because we've moved desktop to Clayton, which allowed us to eliminate those costs. We were able to utilize a bond fund to eliminate a planned rental of equipment that we had originally allocated for 5 years. Once again, the janitorial and housekeeping was reduced because of relocating people, as well as the maintenance and construction materials that we thought we were going to need in Northwest for the computer build room. And we reduced the out-of-town travel. We're trying to keep that to a minimum, only what we really need for certification and requirements. This being a lean budget year for everybody, we elected to reduce the amount of travel that people could take as well. So there are expenditure increases. There is an increase in dollars and wages. There is a addition of 2 policy advisor positions to IT for the 2021 budget. The telephone budget increased because of the correction that I mentioned on the previous slide. And there are various increases here from the new equipment we've brought in. We've brought in and are implementing new firewalls to be able to give us better protection. Our prior firewalls ranged anywhere from 5 to 9 years old, and were no longer updatable and couldn't actually give us the data we needed to analyze traffic coming into our environment. So the computer software went up. Once again, this is because of all of the software that we needed for the website that we brought into our existing budget instead of asking for supplemental changes to our budget. There's a one-time increase in minor office furniture from staff relocation and staff additions. And we increased our local travel, and partially at the expense of out-of-town travel. And I already mentioned the other expenses change. So talk about some of the upcoming challenges that we have. I already mentioned before that in 2022, we are going to start running into staffing issues. We're going to have more needs and we're going to have people to be able to service them. We have optimized our budget to hire as many people as we can. Once again, that only goes so far, but we should be good through 2021. Next year, we'll have to have a conversation about 2022. Some of the other challenges we have is that there is a shrinking buying power of IT. Our annual contracts are actually up 4% on cost from last year. And of course, as everybody knows, the value of the dollar always continues to, it seems, shrink compared to the cost of everything. So we're basically always operating on slightly less money than what we had before. Right. I'd like to open the floor for any questions, if you may have any.
Yes, I will turn it over to other council members for any questions that they may have. Thank you, Chuck, for your very detailed and comprehensive overview of your budget. We do appreciate that. I see Councilman Fitch. Councilman Fitch, go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Chuck, what are two policy advisor positions? What would those be?
Those are positions that the charter allows the county executive to insert into departments. I have not heard of any plans yet to fill them or with what type of person those would be filled with. So I really have no more information than that.
Are those salaries built into your budget as if they will be filled?
Yes.
And were they filled at all this previous budget year?
No, I have never, well, I shouldn't say never, since 2017 when I joined the county, I've never had an advisor position filled by the county executive in our department.
Have they ever filled it and moved it out of your department to do work elsewhere?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Certainly.
Anyone else?
I have. Yes. Okay. Chuck, thank you very much for the presentation. I guess in my non-technology area here, you're looking to do more. You're looking to do more with efficiencies. However, you need to add more staff. You're saying probably in 2022. Did I hear that correctly?
That's correct.
So I guess I'm trying to marry the two. If you're looking to have more efficiencies, then you will need more people to do that. That just doesn't kind of work with me. I'm trying to need some kind of explanation on that one.
Certainly. So if, for example, if we automate the forms for people applying for plumbing licenses or electrical licenses and stuff like that, where the people are getting licensed. Currently, there are people whose job it is to take those paper forms and run through the analysis they need to do and look at the test results and look at the scores and reissue whether or not they passed or failed and get their license or don't get their license. Now, if you automate that process, either A, those positions can be then turned to other areas that may generate more value, or you may lose them for attrition, retirement, or you may choose to eliminate them. But that's an efficiency that's given to other departments, so then they can then utilize that efficiency however, in whatever way they want, whether it's to redirect staff or eliminate staff or whatever. Each time you generate one of those applications to increase efficiency, it takes a little bit of a person's time every year to maintain that. And on our current schedule right now, with all the applications and what that we're developing to give to departments so that they can increase their efficiency, by the end of 2021, all of our current staff will primarily be obligated to operate in maintenance to make sure that those solutions are operating and update them based on changes and requests from the departments. So the efficiencies that are generated are not efficiencies inside of my department. They're efficiencies generated for other departments, and then other departments can utilize that efficiency how they choose. Does that make sense?
Okay, I'm gonna have to think on that for a minute, but let's go to, I believe it was slide number 7, where you have a non-technology positions. And I was wondering if that had to do with Councilman Fitch's question there. And I don't have your slide presentation in front of me. I was trying to write it down as you were talking. So there were, I believe, 2 non-technology positions.
Yes, and those positions are my finance people. So I have, and I will bring that slide back up for you.
Okay.
So I have Erica Savage, who's on with us, who is my IT finance manager.
Okay.
So she manages all of the contracts, the invoices, the human resources side of IT. So and she, I'm sorry?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. And so she currently has 2 people that work for her, and we are hiring a third. And so those are really where all of our non-technology positions is centered around our ability to procure and purchase and pay invoices. So it's finance and HR.
And so you're going from 3 to 5. You have 3
Correct.
now and you're going to 5.
Correct, because in 2021, we're going to be the central purchasing place for all of county for IT technology. So today,
So you do your own. Do you do your own purchasing and procurement and stuff like that within your area? Excuse me.
correct. We work with procurement and administration and follow the procurement rules and processes. But the people who actually do the invoicing and prepare the contracts for IT stuff are in IT.
Okay.
And in 2021, that's going to be centralized so that, for example, today, Public Works actually buys the PCs based on the guidance that we give them. In 2021, we will be buying the PCs for Public Works. So instead of them having to process the quotes and the invoices and that like they do today, that'll be done inside of IT, which is why the non-technology positions increase, because we're going to be absorbing a greater workload.
I see. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Absolutely.
I have a couple questions for you, Chuck.
Certainly.
I believe it was at last year's hearing, or it may have been somewhere in between. It was noted that there were some opportunities to open source some of our technology and that would be a cost savings to the county. Was there any progress made on that over this past year?
Yes. The MURA, which underlines the .gov website and the STL Corona website, is open source. The product itself is free. We paid like $120,000 for support from the vendor, which helped us accelerate the standing up of those sites, and they do like the template in the background and stuff like that. So that is one of the areas that we've utilized open source, so that we moved from an estimated $700,000 a year $700,000 cost for year one for our website down to $125,000.
That's a significant amount of savings.
Yes, the chatbot is the same way. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but they are about a quarter of the cost to buy a closed source for us to do open source. So yes, we have been leveraging our open source capability that the council granted us last year as often as we can. Anytime that we look for new software or new capabilities, we look in the open source market first, because that way we can get usually more flexibility, a vendor that's easier to work with at a much, much lower cost.
Excellent. Thank you for that update. Another question sort of by way of updates. I know also at one point, again, I'm not sure exactly when it was, but sometime between now and this time last year, it came to the council's attention that there was quite a backlog of unpaid bills from the IT department. Did that situation get resolved?
Yes, and give all credit on that one to Erica Savage. She has actually what I thought was going to take 2 years to 3 years to eliminate because of the size of the backlog. She was able to eliminate before the end of the budget year 2020. So we are currently not behind on any bills.
That is also an excellent update. Thank you. And thank you, Erica, for your hard work to resolve that quickly. Thank you. That is all for, I guess my final question would be, I mean, I'm assuming the answer is yes, but I don't want to make any assumptions. You know, your request was actually less than what the county executive recommended. I believe the difference is probably due to some pay increases. Is the county executive's recommendation something that you can make sure meets your needs?
Absolutely.
Thank you. That is the end of my questions. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Erica. We appreciate it. We'll let you know if we have any follow-up questions or need you to come back.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Next, we will hear from the county executive's office. Who will be, I believe I see Cora Faith Walker and Dee Venker on the phone. There's Dee. Dee, will you be presenting for the county executive's office?
I will. Thank you.
Excellent. I will turn it over to you.
Awesome. Chuck, or I'm sorry, Chris, can you let me share my screen as well? All right. So thank you, committee and councilmen and women. And thank you for allowing me to take some time this afternoon to run through our budget for the Office of the County Executive. The Office of the County Executives, our responsibilities here are to direct and coordinate and monitor all the activities of the county, of the administrative units underneath the county executive's control. We also do appointing of the administrative heads of the departments that we have within the county. We do approving and executing of contracts and agreements for the county as we are authorized. We have directing and creating of the annual budget that we are reviewing now. Maintain communications with our federal, state, and local governments, as well as directing special projects requiring coordination among the county departments. So this is just a flavor of what are some of the activities that we do within this office. Our budget overview for this year, as you're well aware, we are basically an administrative role. We have I'll say there's no hugely operation department, no big trucks, that kind of thing. So our operation budget is very small. So we're primarily comprised of our personnel. So our budget for this year, for 2021, the recommended budget for the Office of the County Executive is $1,763 million, and which is an increase of 130,000 plus, or about 8% from the last year's revised budget. So our personnel costs they comprise about 88.1% of our budget, and that is for 12 full-time positions within the office. And then our operating expenses comprise of the other 11.9% of the recommended budget that we have. So with that, I can get into the personnel costs that we have. We have decreased our personnel from 13 positions from last year down to 12 positions this year. But there is also showing an increase in the budget due to the merit salary funding that was added to the budget. Some of the things COVID has challenged us over this last year is that we, like other departments, have several staff working from home, which is, as you guys know, modified how we do business here within the county. So we've been working on teleworking policies, and then also practicing what we preach by doing teleworking. We've become experts at Zooming and WebExing. And then we've seen the other items where we've seen a decrease in community engagement across the board with the ongoing restrictions that are happening. But as we continue our engagement with our local and regional partners and state partners, those have been happening over WebEx with I'll call webinars continuing and learning opportunities continuing to happen, as well as board meetings and the like. Our expenditures, which are operating costs, like I mentioned earlier, they comprise of 11.9% of our budget. These have been maintained over the last year, right at around $69,400, with the exception of an increase of about $140,500, which is an increase for the insurance, with our budget being so small that those dollar amounts changed dramatically within our percentage, which has caused an 8% increase in the budget. So as you can see, I just kind of do a summary here from the last couple of years. From 2019, our total budget, from 2019, you can see at 1.703 million. 2020, we had 1.633 million. 2021, we were at 1.523 million, but the recommended budget was increased to cover that cost of the increase of insurance, along with the dollar amount for the merit raises. With that, I will be happy to take any questions that you have.
Thank you, Dee. Any questions from the council? Councilman Fitch, go ahead.
Thank you.
Deanna, the one position that was cut, what was that position?
I believe we had a, gosh, what was it in our staff? Let me do a quick lookup while we're talking, and I will get that to you. If you don't mind.
Was it community engagement?
It was within our staff here, so if you give me 2 seconds here. We had, was an intern that we had on board within our county executive's office.
And that was a full-time position?
Yes.
So no intent to replace that person?
At this time, no.
Okay. And was that a non-merit or a merit position?
It says non-merit, a non-merit position.
So that was a political appointee. Okay.
Correct.
And then you show 12 positions in the budget. How many other positions that are spread out in all the other various buckets are there that work for the county executive, appointed by him and work and do work for his office?
We have about 33 positions that are out, that are filled, that are appointed, and then there are, I believe, 6 additional openings. There are some that are out there that are, I'll call it board functions, which, you know, we do not appoint to those. And then within, I'll call it like Spirit of St. Louis, those are restricted funding requirements through the Federal Aviation Board that also have requirements associated with those.
Okay. So for example, his police security drivers, his detail, they're not in your budget anywhere. Are those carried out of the police budget?
I do not have the answer for that. I can certainly do some checking and get back with you.
And my question related to that is why wouldn't that be in his budget instead of the police department having to give up those positions in their budget? No different than Spirit, for example. They pay for the officers at Spirit Airport, as we heard from Mr. Bales. He reimburses the department for those funds. Why doesn't the county executive's office do the same?
Okay. And I'm hearing from Paul Kreidler that it has been a historical practice that the police security has been in the police budget.
That I believe. I know that. My question is why isn't it?
That's why.
Yeah.
We can certainly evaluate that.
Okay. Because those are 2 positions that could be filled in the police department if they were funded in the county executive's office. Why I'm asking. Okay, that's all I have right at this moment, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Councilwoman Days.
I was curious about your insurance. It seems that there has been a significant increase in your insurance this year. Have you looked at, or do you all consider other options for insurance, for instance, pooling with a state pool or with others that may have, you know, you can, I guess it's economies of scale, if you will. Have you all considered that?
Yes, I'm looking to Paul Kreidler right now, and he is providing an answer here, because this is something that is, I believe, looked at overall the county, and this is our portion of it. He mentions that it's a much longer discussion we can certainly have, but we can certainly give you that information after this.
Well,
after this presentation.
This is part of your budget, and of course, this is a significant part of the budget. You're going to have these people, and a significant part of the insurance is being paid by the county. So I don't know if I guess we can have that discussion later on, but I think the same thing happened last year. We had an increase in that, and I don't know if I asked the question last year, but it's clearly something that I think that should be considered. Given all that we're dealing with now, we don't have any money, period. Let me ask you this also. Was the county executive asked all the departments to do a decrease in their budget this year? Were departments asked, I think it was 5% or something like that. Were they asked to do that this year?
Correct. Yes, all departments were asked to look at, I believe it is 0% growth, a 5% decrease, and a 10% decrease.
And did the administration do that?
We did.
In what areas?
I'm going to go back in the presentation here. You can see what we submitted and was on the 2021 was a decrease. We were at 1.521 million, and that had the decrease. The insurance that you were just speaking about, it is a pooled insurance. It's our self-insurance for St. Louis County. It's what we participate in the same insurance that the other county employees have. We don't get to negotiate this as an individual office with the insurers. So this is, I'll call it our office's portion of those costs.
So you're in a pool with other counties? Is that what I heard you say?
No, with St. Louis County, with all the other departments.
Councilwoman Days, this would probably be a question for the Department of Administration, because individual departments can't negotiate their own insurance pools.
Right. I thought that came from the county executives under his auspices that we would do that. So obviously that's incorrect. So the Department of Administration is not under the county executive?
It's a different department within St. Louis County, just like we have the Department of Public Works and the Department.
Right. I'm not suggesting that they do their own. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting has the county as a whole looked into an insurance pool? That's what my point is. And I thought this would be, I thought Ms. Vinker was in charge of operations or whatever. And so that's why I was asking that question. But no, I'm not suggesting that each department have their own insurance. I'm looking at the county as a whole in terms of joining some pool that might help us with our costs. That's my point.
This is the pool that the Department of Administration, they budget that and manage that for the county. And this is that we are in that same pool. This office is in the same pool of insurance for the county, and this is our share of that piece.
Right. I don't think that I'm being understood, but that's okay. We'll do that. But I'm not just looking at your department. I'm looking at, and perhaps I'm thinking that you're doing this under the county executive's office. So that's my error. So thank you. Thank you.
No worries.
Any other questions for the county executive's office pertaining to their budget? All right. I am hearing none. Are there any public comments, Diane? Madam Clerk? Are there any public comments? I did not hear anything. Did you nod your head? I'm sorry. Okay, no public comments. Unless there's any other discussion, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Diane.
who made the second?
I did.
Councilman Days.
Thank you. Thank you.
What time was
All
the
those in
next
favor,
meeting?
I heard an aye. Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Dee, Cora, for the information, and Erica as well. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day. Take care.